Yo, and it's another day with no headset. Honestly, I don't know where it's at. I think I put it down somewhere or it's in one of my jackets. So like when I take off my jacket, my headset, my headphone, earbuds, they want to call them, they be inside my jacket. I don't have them outside so freely. But anyways, anywho, I digress. I wanted to show you guys something. I wanted to show you guys the angles that I use for attack and defense. And I genuinely think that it makes me better as a player. And as you can tell, I digress again. You hear Fit in the background. I'm currently watching the documentary, the 1 hour one. I didn't get to watch it yesterday, but I am now. So, anywho, yeah, I honestly think these make me better as a player because when people see me, they don't expect a silver or a bronze. No, I'm a silver. Yeah, they don't expect a silver to like actually know these angles. And you may think, why would you do these angles? Honestly, really and truly, to avoid gunfights. Honestly, because sometimes I be a bitch. Sorry, like I just want to avoid gunfights that I know I don't have to like actually contest. And it comes to a point where it's like, bro, you could just go under somebody. You could just C4. You could just wall bang all these things. And if you can wall bang, you can floor bang. If you can floor bang, you can wall bang. So I like to use it to my advantage and not only just like for defense, for example, And it's rare. It's a rare occasion where in my lobbies people actually for a floor bang. It's either someone shooting down as an offender, or it's just someone that's making rotate or honestly making line of sight just to see where an attacker is pushing from. But when it comes from attack, is a pretty bit different. It's different because people don't really actually get the reaction time they need. Imagine a buck under you, just timing you. The moment you get not even pinged, the moment you get yellow pinged or like a 3-2-1, you just get bucked, you get shot at, you get flashed, and then you thinking like, who's under me? Like, how do they coordinate this shit so fucking fast? That's what it is. And I want to lean over to the other comment I said a while back. You need to ban certain operators. In this scenario I just said, you buckets under you, you get yellow ping, white ping, whatever, because my ping is white. You get floor banged, flash banged, and you just get killed. Who do you ban? The flash person, the one who killed you, or Buck? You ban Buck because he's the one that's actually making the push and execute. A push could be a push. Ash, Nomad, Ash, Finka, that's a push, Kill, die, whatever. But the execution is where Buck relies on. We rely on Buck to actually hit this guy up a couple times to honestly make him move. And again, these are the angles I use as a silver player when I am playing rank. And it's really easy to negotiate with my duo because not only he doesn't know maps, well, he's still learning maps. He doesn't know maps that well, but when it comes to a position where he's familiar with something, he's going to know what I'm talking about. So even by time he reacts to the flashbang that I support him with, he's gonna automatically know that okay, he's flashing this for a reason, and like he's gonna take initiative, like, okay, bet, let me take my time, let me push, let me swing, let me, he's gonna do all these things to make him get that kill. And again, you may think, who am I banning? Banning me or my IRL? You're gonna ban me because I'm the one that's actually making the execution. But we're not here for bans. We're here to talk about my angles and, just what I like to do. And it's for attack and defense. So I'm showing attack first, defense later. And honestly, like I said, I'm not gonna lie, it's boosted my KD. I came from a 1.9 to a 1.2. And that's a big difference. I'm not gonna lie. So when it comes to angles, it's not about being cheesy or you're baiting or like you're just sitting there forever. No, it's an angle to honestly not only support your team or yourself, but just to catch you off guard. That's it. I'm not gonna make it into like some no burp, whatever. I'm not gonna make it into some type of whole dilemma. No, it's just holding angles. It's that simple. And when you look at the game simple in the fact that you have all these abilities that can make line of sight, some people use Ash to rush. Some use Zofia for line of sight. Some people use Ash not to rush or line of sight, just to strictly get kills and not use her gadget for once. Not once, And I honestly want to like make it. I want to make it a big deal because I feel like when it comes to new players and they keep asking, how do I get better at the game? How do I get good aim? How do I get good sense? How do I learn the game? How do you? You need to watch what you're doing. You need to look at your teammates. And you may think, what the fuck am I doing wrong? When you die, try to find, let's say you're still a Q, right? And you're not that too good, but you're just like running around. Try to find and spectate the player who's doing better than everybody else and see what he's doing right, you know? And that makes you wonder, even though you're spectating, you can see how the person that you're looking at can work on his own and with a teammate or teammates, regardless the situation or scenario. And it honestly might help you because you realize not only not only this random doesn't need us, he's honestly using his own skill and his own his own like database. I'll say that his own database, as in if like how can he win this by himself to the best ability he can. And that's where you learn. You learn in 1v1s. You learn in 1vx scenarios because it puts you in the spotlight. But I will say this, the spotlight is not always, oh yeah, you shine, you win. The spotlight is what can you do in this nick of time? Because half of the times people would throw and just all of a sudden just throw bodies. Like, why would you push this guy? He clearly has momentum. He's just sniped 2 people. Why would you push him? And then that's where that skill gap comes in at. Patience, waiting, honestly, knowing when to push, not to push, bait. Honestly, I don't like baiting. Baiting sucks. I digress. My fucking patience for baiting is terrible. Like, I swing at the worst times. But anyways, you put yourself in a spot where you can honestly not only win, but you can get the upper hand. Because not all the time you can be above somebody. Literally, boom, C4, you're dead, Even though you're above, you're safe, it's a 1vx, you got 2 kills, now it's a 1v2, it's like, bro, like, you have to realize they can still get this up. They can still get you gone, even if they don't, like, physically see you. You know what I'm saying? And that's where the floor bangs come in at. That's where the ram, the buck, the shotguns, sledge, exactly, sledge, especially Sledge. Sledge is very good. Sledge, that's where those guys come in at because not only they can catch you off guard, they can honestly catch you by surprise. And I hate the element of surprise. And you may say, bro, I don't want to do this. That's too much work. And what if I'm doing it and I get run up on? What if I'm doing it and Cav kills me and knifes me and interrogates me? What if Visual gets me and I'm dead? Bro, you have teammates. You have drones. And like I said from the get-go, it's in the nick of time. You have time to drone. Don't get me wrong. We all do. But some cases, it gets limited because shit be hectic. You have time to actually have awareness for a split second of what you're trying to do and what you want to do. That's a big difference because sometimes people play double minds, meaning they will want to do something, but they know if this does not work, they automatically have a second option of what to do. And that's how you separate good players from great players. Great players always have a backup plan. Good players just push. They get kills and they're just stuck. They just don't know what to do now. Like everything and anything is just bad to them. But for a great player, they will always make an obsession. They'll always make an excuse to be somewhere where they need to be at. That kind of might sound like a mumbo jumbo. So let me break that down. What I mean by that is like, don't limit yourself. Even though you're not that close to sight, even though you have a Guman in your fucking back, even though you have a lesion trap in your foot, it doesn't mean that you just chalk the whole scene. You need to make a new entrance, make a new entry, make a new push in that nick of time, because it gets serious when people actually know how you play and they cut you off. They time the roam, they time the peak, they time the C4, they damn near honestly bait Monty plants, so it's like if a team knows, okay, bet we plant, we throw smokes, we know they're going to throw a C4, you bait that plant and then You waste 2 C4s, and then you just go to the plant, and then you win the game because you know what the team is expecting of you, and then you expect it from them as well. And that's not cheating. That's just knowing the game. That's just knowing how good you are. You know a limit of what an extension you would take just to win a game. And then once again, to win the game, you would bait. You would bait a plant. Like when someone says bait plant, that means holy shit, we need to actually get kills now because there's only 2 ways to win a game: kill everybody or plant bomb. And we're gonna need to plant bomb because if they have 3 C4s in a smoke and in a zombie, we can't do much. So it's like, can we just bait this out? You bait, you waste util, and all of a sudden, plants down. Now the defense team is trying to negotiate on how can they reset as a defense, because all of a sudden we just use all our util, and then now the plant is actually happening. They have no option but to sit there and wait. They have to wait till the smoke's clear. They have to wait until someone's not peeking the right angle. They have to wait, and they have to suck it up and be like, you know what? They get the plant down, So now that's where the fight comes in at. Is like, bruh, like all of a sudden when things go wrong, people want to act right, And it's very draining when you have a player or players who don't know what to do in certain scenarios. And you may just say, well, just turn your mic and tell them. It's difficult. I'm not gonna lie. This is the thing I noticed with like bots and my IRL, the bot. All of them. Like not all my IRLs, but just IRL and cleaning bots, whatever. When I tell him something very detailed, he seems to like ADS and like walk around. Like, how like a bot walks around like un-ADS, just like looking around, like just trying to like find something, not even leaning, not even doing anything, just walking around trying to like adjust to like what they're trying to look for. Why would you do that? It's like, you look like a lost puppy. Can you please ADS? Can you please at least lean? Can you please act like you know what you're doing? And that's where that miscommunication comes in at. It's not the fact that they're bad. It's the fact that they don't know what they're doing. What the fuck was that? They don't know what they're doing. So it's very difficult and hard to actually like take in what you're saying to them. It's like you say peek this, swing this, and tuck. What? They're gonna like honestly not move at all because they don't know what the fuck you just said right there. But I'm not saying that it's a call out. No, it's a game plan. Get a kill and tuck. That's it. Because when the enemy knows you're in a certain scenario or in a certain position, they're not only going to push you, they're going to make a push to get this plan executed because they know where you're at. My diffuser doesn't need to fucking push you as a diffuser. You need to go plant the bomb. And I hate that shit too. I'm not trying to sidetrack, but it honestly pushes me why I'm actually here. Because there's times where it's like a 1v2 or like in a scenario is where the enemy has more bodies than us. Put it that way. So an XVX scenario. Why is my diffuser pushing the fucking enemy, bro? Or enemies? Why are you pushing them? At least drop bomb. You know what I'm saying? Like, why are you pushing them? And that's something that makes me honestly mad, because it's like, bro, we have angles. We have your execution. Why are you fucking it up? Because once you push that person, they have case. And all the angles we made are useless now. Because they're not gonna push this. They're gonna get the hand. They're gonna get the gist of it. Like, okay, these guys are actually playing these angles. So now, instead of trying to get kills, they're gonna flank. They're gonna roam around more. They're gonna avoid the certain window. They will avoid certain angles. They will avoid certain gunfights because they know support is already on the way, or damn near support is already here. So when it comes to defusing and planting and honestly trying to make angles, don't make angles that benefit the enemy. Make it that benefit you. And you may think, well, an angle is an angle. Yeah, master the angle. If you make an angle for you, don't let the enemy take over your angle. Because, again, it can be used against you. So when it comes to angles, just don't make it just because you see it on TikTok. Just don't make any random angle, because two things might happen. One, that angle might not be looking at anything. Two, the angle can probably be used against you in the nick of time because you're not holding it right. You didn't make it right. You're not trying to actually get a kill. You're just making it just to fucking see. Like, there's a big difference. Line of sight is in the name, line of sight. But when you make line of sight, there's multiple ways to make line of sight. You can use it for kills and use it just to strictly to see. Like Mira makes line of sight. That's head hose in defense terms. Line of sight in attack is, breaching. That is in attack terms. And when you ask yourself, am I breaching or am I making line of sight? They both mean the same thing, but it's just a different. Think of like an automatopoeia, It's like, it sounds the same, but it means different. That's what it is right there. So don't make it too hard on yourself to be like, well, I'm going to do this just so I can see somebody and just get a kill and leave. Cool. But the next time you come on that same angle, I guarantee you someone's watching that, because not only that, they can hear you. When you make line of sight, sound shortcuts to the shortest route. I think I watched that Varsity video back in 2024. I think he made that video about that sound cue shit. It's like, when you make line of sight or like head holes or any holes, sound travels to the shortest. So imagine you're hearing someone super close. It's probably something's broken. That's why he sounds so close. You know what I'm saying? And if it sounds muffled but is pushing you at a distance, that means he's close. Because some of these walls be hella thick. Some are thin. And I think it kind of matters. Like I would say like the concrete wall type in Clubhouse is more thick. And then you have the walls in here in a consulate. It's kind of more thin, but they kind of make the same sound. I'm probably ODing it, but I'm not sure. But yeah, when you hear someone very, 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 very close, it's probably something's broken. A floor is broken, a wall is broken. Something's broken to make you hearing that nigga so close. Sorry. And like I said, it's just being careful, honestly. So I encourage all of you, when you make angles, please be careful. Just don't make it for funs. You could do that, like, if you're chilling, okay, cool, you're chilling, but you're going to be too cool, and then you're going to end up dying because this guy literally just shot you from your own angle. You know what I'm saying? It's like doing a ram, and then you let the ram just ram, but as you're walking it, someone's looking above you while the ram is going. So by the time that ram sound cue is over, the enemy team, aka defense, is already having the upper hand on you because he can see you walking. You're not really looking as the ram goes because you have to watch for flanks because the sound cue, you have to look around yourself. You have to drone, make sure no one's playing off the sound cue of the ram, but literally, someone's under you, literally following you as you walk around this ram, and then all of a sudden you die because he just knows you're going to be there, and then he literally sees you, So I'm not saying don't use ram or like, ram is shit. No, like if you're going to use ram in a way that when you use her in a way that you're going to play right off of it. Like as soon as it starts, look down, like look where the ram is like making the path, and just, look down a bit. And it's going to honestly not only give the enemy pressure, it's going to give them less time to react, because it's not like a free pick. Oh yeah, I see you. No, I see you too, And then you have to remember now, there's windows. There's things around you that can honestly make it hard for you to honestly flank somebody upstairs or downstairs or whatever. It makes it harder for enemies, aka defense, to actually like make an actual flank happen, because there's drones, there's flank drones, there's actual people watching it, there's air drive, there's claymores, there's there's zero cams, There's all these things that can prevent you from flanking. And you may think, how does flanking do with angles? Angles and flanking have a lot in common. When you want to hold a flank, you are holding an angle. That is you leaning. But now, when you want to hold an angle, you have to hold the flank so that angle doesn't get corrupted, or it doesn't get, it doesn't get spotted out too easily. Because when someone knows you're holding an angle that's like, simple, or they get the idea that, yeah, it's just super tight, they're going to actually, if they can, wall bang you, pre-fire you, or just bait you out that angle. And that's where you die, because when they bait you out that angle, you're honestly giving up your body, because we all know the head matters in Siege. You're one tap, you're dead, if they can make you give up your body, that is a winnable fight. Sorry, that's winnable. You know, like you don't have to fully get like a whole body kill or like a whole body shot. No, if you just get the kill, it's fine. But when it comes to honestly holding something that you know for a fact it would get you a kill, you have to hold it. You just can't move. You have to hold it. Even though you hear him, you just have to hold it. And worst case scenario, you hold an angle, you get one tap. All of a sudden, the guy is literally holding the same angle as you, but at a different, angle. So angles versus angles. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, ain't no way I'm leaning left and you're leaning right, but you kill me on a left angle. Exactly. You're on the left angle. He's on the right. So you have to be aware of how you're leaning and how you're picking angles, because it's not only the fact that it's a good angle, it's what's the word? Sorry. It's not line of sight. I want to say peripheral vision, but it's like people can see you before you see them, depending on the angles. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like that. It's like the angle wasn't bad, it was just a bad spot. You know, like that's not how you hold this type of, angle or spot you're trying to, get a kill on. And I want to make an example. It's kind of like, I honestly hate ads. Like, I just hate ads. Now I'm like losing track. Just mute the fucking ad. It's not another ad. HEB ad. 2 more seconds. I can skip this ad. Now I'm here watching Fat. Nice. Anyways, it's like you're not having a bad angle. It's like, let me give you an example. If you're trying to hold, imagine with me. If you know maps, imagine with me. If you are playing Clubhouse, okay? You're upstairs, gym master. You have bottoms, middle, central staircase, all right? Attacker is holding that peak the moment they come up middle, central. And then you're in master. You're on the master door right next to the extinguisher. Yeah? No, far. Yeah. In front of it. So you're by the door. It's the hallway, and then it's log. They're holding that angle. They're going to be leaning left. You're going to be leaning right. Who is going to see the person first? Who's going to see who first? Again, imagine that. An attacker on central staircase, middle. The moment he hit that middle intersection, he's there. He's leaning left to look into master. You're on the master door leaning right. Who will see who first? And there goes your answer. That's a kill, And it depends on the angle. And like I said, the angle is not wrong. It's just you shouldn't be holding that angle, because that angle could be overpowered, It's not always about, shoot from under, C4 from under, or wall bank him, floor bank him, or you join him out, frag him out, flash him out. Like that, none of that matters when an angle is included, because the angle can honestly get gived up like chalk immediately, and you just have a regular fucking angle, Like there's nothing you can do about it when someone's actually holding it. Why? Because that's an advantage. Angles are strictly an advantage, and I believe people don't like that. People don't like the idea of leaning in angles. People don't like the dynamics of the game. Like that's what it is. And I think the other day too, it was like COD. Literally COD. Spawn peaks, so you're gonna spawn peek and spawn kill every single body on Nuketown, because you just know the game and the dynamics. You know the game too well. So it's like, it's not kind of like Siege, but I would say it is, because it's like that. And to be real, it's honestly for the better and the worse, because when it comes to trying to honestly do the bare minimum, like what's the bare minimum? The bare minimum is you trying to win the game. And we as Siege players, as a Siege community, we didn't actually, did we invent rotations? Like who was the first person to actually make rotations? Think about that. Like, who was the first person to actually make up a site? Like, who was the first person? Like, I'm not saying of course pros, they had the ideas of, whatnot, and all of a sudden, certain spots, certain angles are named by actual pros. So it makes you wonder who was the first person to do that. You know what I'm saying? And it gives you a leverage, you know, like, okay, if I'm going to defend my base, how can I make it in a way that, you know, I can have secret tunnels, I can have, you know, I can have secret doors, you know, I can have, you know, bulletproof cameras, you know, I can have, you know, a bulletproof vest, you know, rook, you know, I can have all these things to make my base feel defensive, you know, enough that I can move around freely. And, you know, if the enemy is at my front door, how can I leave without going to the back door? You know, it's like you have all these ideas on trying to, you know, play the game how you want to play it, but then it's a certain way how to play it. You can play Siege how you want to. You're not going to get punished. What will happen is you're not going to see any progress. So it's either you change or you just continue doing the same thing. And doing the same thing gives you no progress, you know? So it's a lose-lose when you don't want to be in tune with your teammates and you be ignorant, like, no, I don't want to, you know, I don't have to. You don't have to, but it's best you do, because that's what's going to make you learn. That's going to make you, you know, get that kill you actually want. That's going to make you, you know, you might die on this play, but now you know how serious it is to hold this angle. You know how serious it is, you know, to hold this spot. You love playing so much, you know. You would take the initiative and you would take, not the authority, but you would take like ownership of saying that, you know, I did bad, I did good, you know, I know why, I don't know why, that's good, that's bad, and all those things. Like, you would take it upon yourself to tell yourself, that's something I shouldn't and should have done. And I'm not gonna lie, bro. I can't think enough that when it comes to honesty, making anything in general, it's muscle memory. Like, that's the first thing I should have said, like to begin with. It's muscle memory. When you see someone just strictly doing random shit as soon as the round starts, it's muscle memory. They're not gonna strictly tell you. I mean, of course, if you act, they'll tell you why it's being done, or they should. And, you know, if they're fucking nice, you know, weird randoms. But anyways, when someone just strictly does anything right off the rip, that's just muscle memory. Like, you're not gonna understand, but like I said, once you die and you spectate that good player, you would see why they do what they do. You know, like, you would see how it benefits them, and how you would see how it benefits them and not corrupt them, you know? But, you know, yeah. Like always, have fun, GG's, and yeah.